Welcome. This is our first mystery book discussion tonight, and we've chosen a classic mystery from the Queen of Crime herself, Agatha Christie. It is called Death Comes as the End, and it is a little distinct from a lot of her books because it does not contain either of her series characters, Hercule Poirot or Miss Marple, and it is set in ancient Egypt. And some of Agatha Christie's best books are set in ancient Egypt. Not ancient Egypt, but in Egypt, because her second husband was Max Malloran, who was an assistant to a noted archaeologist, Sir Leonard Woolley, and he was a photographer. And she traveled extensively through that region with him, and she loved to write novels there because there were no distractions, so she could really get down to work. And uh, pretty much, I think some of her best novels, Death on the Nile, is actually a classic whodunit. We might do it maybe next year. We don't want to be too Agatha Christie heavy in the book club, but Murder in Mesopotamia, They Came to Baghdad, and Appointment with Death takes place in Jerusalem, and the murder happens in Petra, which is in Jordan territory. So it really inspired her a great deal, and on top of that, too, I believe not having a series character, there's a lot of connections with, and then there were none, 10 Little Indians, which was another book without a detective necessarily, and also with a high body count, which is this book is also noted for. This is only second to And Then There Were None as body counts go, I believe. It finally ends up as 8.
Yeah, I didn't count them.
I do have a list here, but well, let's let's not have me talking through the whole thing. So while we're here, let's go around and rate it. So we're gonna start with you, Bill, and rate it 5.
5, definitely 5. This one blew my mind. I thought every time I thought I had to kill a victim, she knocked them off. it was just fantastic. It's good to read some of these old writers that have set the standard. I mean, like we were discussing earlier, she set the standard. This is the first murder mystery. She set the tone for murder mysteries. And it's very well written. The setting is very, very intriguing. And I just loved it. I loved it, period. I mean, it was just fantastic.
Bill and I were talking earlier, and one of the things I do want to mention, just to be like, informative about this discussion, is that at the time, this was really the first historical murder mystery. Mm-hmm. It's now become a huge genre where people set things in another time, but there were books, Ben-Hur, there were books set in other times being written, but this was the first time somebody actually set a genre piece, and a very classic murder mystery in that way too. But anyway, so that's great. So Lyndon,
I'm teetering between a 3.5 and a 4. I really enjoyed the mystery. I thought it was like I have never read Agatha Christie before this. I really enjoyed it. I thought the writing was great. I thought she had kind of very interesting insights into people and how to write them. My main caveat about it is that sometimes the writing or the characters will repeat themselves quite a bit. Like I don't need to. Like I just felt like I didn't need to be reminded that, for example, that one of the brothers was the impulsive one every 4 pages.
I have something to talk to you about that. So yeah, that's interesting. You should say that, but that's very interesting.
Or one of them's kind of the henpecked husband. Every 3 or 4 pages that got that reminder, and I don't know. I felt like without a little bit of that repetition, it would have flowed much quicker for me. But I really enjoyed the mystery, and I enjoyed most of the writing, and I sped through it in 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did it this morning. I mean, I've read it before, and I think I had done like a dramatic interpretation of it. Yeah, exactly. I do have to say, I'm glad you bring it up. I might as well talk about it right now. But I did see this documentary where they did lexicography. The thing where you you total up like how many times Shakespeare used the word heart in something. They did that with Agatha Christie with a computer, and they tallied up how she did things. But one of the things they discovered was that in writing her mysteries and trying to deceive the reader, she uses brainwashing techniques of referring to a character like. Well, I can tell you right now, there are a couple of times she uses it once as the killer. The killer, when you first enter, gentle. He's gentle. He's gentle. He's gentle. And she uses that like almost like in two paragraphs. But one of the things that they said was like, well, the point is like, well, the first two times it like registers, maybe it annoys you, as you said, but then what happens is in a subconscious level, you then still think of that, you are almost convinced because you've heard it 4 times. It's that kind of thing where you now believe he's gentle. And so that was the thing. So he's frail. He can't do these things. And whereas later, when she's talking about Kate, and she wants the reader to believe that Kate would have been physically strong enough to hold Ippy underwater, she says strong and strong and strong. And she really deliberately does this. I want you to think this, and whether you want to or not, I think on a level, and I think that's how she in a magician's way fools people. But they equated it with brainwashing technique. I'm not sure. What do you think about that?
I think it depends on the reader. I think.
Well, you sound like you found it out, so that's good.
I found it out eventually, like halfway through. I figured, okay, there's something suspicious about. Oh, I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, I know. Well, I listened to an audio thing and it pronounced it much to the Yamose is how they say it on the audio thing.
And it's like partially because.
Oh, I'm sorry. We just did a spoiler alert. That's who the killer is at the end of the book.
But I think that I just kind of got the feeling that because he wasn't killed per se, but I also know that okay, it was described okay he was deliberately sipping his wine.
That's a clue.
And that's okay. I've seen this trope before that someone will kind of take that kind of risk and sort of take themselves out of the game to a degree, or at least from appearances. It's like, okay, that could be very suspicious, and there is clearly a line that it's either him or I narrowed it down between him and.
I have to stress at this point that you used the word trope. This woman invented.
Oh yeah.
She's like the Edison and the Alexander Graham Bell of what you just said. I know, but she invented that and calculated it in just that way. And again, played fair, because that's the thing. When you go back and read it, you say, "Oh, he sipped," and you know what I mean. That she plays fair. She doesn't like do a lot. And then even with the goat herder boy. You see how, I'm going to do what my master tells me. I'm going to tell this lie about seeing the lady with the necklace. And when it comes time to describe the necklace, he's like, I can describe the necklace. I'm so happy I don't have to lie anymore. He actually showed me the necklace so I could describe, whatever it is. And then also, getting him to then kill himself by saying, here, take this medicine. Which is terrible. He's a terrible killer. I mean, he's a serial murderer.
But it's funny, I mean, that you mention it, I now realize that she was doing all this stuff about telling how one person was weak or the other one was picked on or whatever. But it didn't dawn on me in this story. But I did pick up on the one thing I think that threw me off as far as who the killer was. I thought because I guess the part about him sipping his wine didn't really gel with me because he was supposedly still sick in bed. But there was one time one of the characters walked in and he was standing up in his room or in the room or walking in his room, and he wasn't supposed to be. He was still at that point where he was faking.
Right.
He was faking it, and it just went right over my head because I still didn't think him as the killer. So.
And then, I'm sorry, the other really, obviously, there's not that many clues to figure it out, but the other clue is the cold, stiff cheek that when Neb touches it, and you realize, well, I've been so-and-so, I have an alibi for an hour ago, but it was cold, so the body might be dead for 2 hours, so your 1 hour alibi doesn't really matter.
Yeah, for me, just the main thing that kind of got me off the trail of Yazo for a little while was him killing his brother. It just kind of drowning him. Because, okay, that would take a lot of strength. How strong was that poison? Because ordering other people to be poisoned or having poison in their food, that doesn't take a lot of physical strength, just opportunity. But, okay, I was just wondering how weak was he at that point?
Yeah, he was feigning. Yeah, I think that's the point, is that he was feigning it the whole time. And I'm so sick.
Yeah.
And that also threw him off, too, because then, for the reader, again, it's like, oh, precautions, somebody's still trying to kill him. So precautions were made to keep poison from coming to him. So you thought, well, he still is a potential victim. And, right, and again, it's like, well, that's what she's playing with. That's how she's made, and it's great.
That's
but I have to say,
yeah, she draws you in that way.
but I have to say too, like that. What I love about it though is, like, I read this knowing who the killer was, but I enjoyed then on this third reading of it, the interactions with people and how, well, if you know he's the killer now, what he's saying, he's even being truthful in his deceptions. Like when he is talking to Resnick, and it's like, oh, don't say that, or or she is gonna die, or when he goes to visit Hennet in the linen thing and doesn't kill her then.
Yeah.
Instead has this conversation with her, and then tells Hori, oh, I think she's the killer, and there's that whole thing going on there.
Like, I never believed Hennet was a killer. I did for a while believe she was in on it.
Yeah.
She knew.
I did think she was the killer. The only one I didn't think was a killer was Asa, the other older woman.
Asa, no. Well, of course, which is what again. It's so funny. I said there wasn't like Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple in here, but Asa plays Miss Marple in this thing because she's actually in ancient Egypt. She is solving the family mystery, and she's like, she's like teasing the killer to get him to try to kill her, and then he's like, oh, no, you're not gonna kill me. And I'd say one of my favorite parts is that it's almost, what I really love about this thing is she gives everybody their due. I think she gives all these characters their moment. Everybody gets like a nice little moment. And that's this thing is like, how did he murder me? I can't die without knowing. And before she dies, she figures it out. And she kind of dies peacefully because she goes to the afterlife like, oh, he poisoned my ungin.
I'll love them later.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so funny. Then her son sees it. She had a peaceful look on her face. I was like, oh, it's not because she was a murderer. It's because she solved the mystery in the end. And
she was the only one throughout the novel that basically, no, there's absolutely no suspicion that she could be no. Never has.
Yeah, and then like Kamini is a really good suspect because you can see, well, maybe he's got a reason to. Then he knows he can like seduce Resnick and join in on that. And I mean, of the people remaining, and then even Hori. I mean, why not Hori come out of left field and just turn out to be a bad guy? So let's see what else I wanted to ask you guys about. Oh, I did want to ask so there's so many what was your favorite murder in the book?
Who?
Favorite murder, actual murder.
Okay.
Well, let's do favorite character. Your favorite character.
Which was the one that got murdered the best?
Yeah, okay, let's start. Yeah, I do want to do, what's the favorite murder? I have to say, I already told you mine, which was when Hennig gets it in the linen thing.